you ever looked at a rental property listing and thought, can I buy that with my IRA? Not personally, not as a weekend project, not as a vacation home, but as an investment held inside a self-directed IRA. For many people, that question opens up an entirely different way of thinking about retirement dollars. Instead of only holding stocks, bonds, or mutual funds, publicly traded stuff, a self-directed IRA enables you to hold alternative assets like real estate, private placements, promissory notes, private stocks, precious metals, cryptocurrency, and so much more. But here's the part that matters most. Just because your IRA may be able to hold a rental property does not mean that every property, every market, or every strategy is right for you or your account. In 2026, the National Association of REALTORS has released its official list of housing hotspots, highlighting markets that may be positioned for stronger buyer activity based on factors like affordability, income growth, job growth, migration trends, inventory alignment, housing demand, and things like that. National Association of REALTORS is a mouthful. So you're going to hear me referring to it as NAR and as NAR throughout this video. Today, we're going to walk through NAR's 10 official housing hotspots for 2026. And talk about what self-directed IRA account holders should understand if they are exploring rental property as an alternative asset. Okay, before we go any further, Mountain West IRA is a self-directed IRA administrator. We don't sell investments, recommend investments, provide tax advice, legal advice, or tell you where or if you should buy property. This video is for education only. You're responsible for your own due diligence, and you should always work with a qualified tax, legal, financial, or even a real estate professional before making investment decisions. Now, with that said, let's talk about how rental property works inside of a self-directed IRA and what makes these 10 markets worth watching and the IRS rules you need to understand before your IRA buys real estate. Now, real quick overview. A self-directed IRA is an individual retirement account that gives the account holder the ability to direct the IRA into a broader range of assets than what is typically available through a standard brokerage IRA or 401k. The account holder chooses the investment. The administrator processes the transaction at the account holder's direction and maintains the required account records. That distinction is important. Remember, Mountain West IRA does not evaluate whether a property is a good deal. We don't review tenant demand. We do not tell you whether a city is overvalued or undervalued. And we don't recommend sponsors, properties, funds, or markets. Our role is administration and education. Your role is direction and due diligence. You have all the power here. You just have to follow IRS rules. Okay, so can a self-directed IRA hold rental property, income generating property? Yes. Absolutely. A self-directed IRA can hold a rental property. That may include single-family homes, duplexes, multifamily properties, commercial real estate, raw land, and all other types of real estate, depending on the structure of the investment and whether it complies with IRS rules. But there is one rule that every account holder needs to understand right away. Your IRA owns the property. You do not own it personally. That means the title is not in your personal name. The income doesn't go into your personal bank account. The expenses don't come out of your pocket or your personal checking account. The IRA is the owner. You're the owner of the IRA. If the property produces rental income, that income must go back into the IRA. If the property has expenses, those expenses must be paid from IRA funds. You can't pay expenses personally and then reimburse yourself later. You also cannot take rental income personally while the property is owned by your IRA. Everything needs to flow through the IRA. Also, why do some self-directed IRA account holders look at rental property? Rental property is one of the most familiar alternative assets available inside of a self-directed IRA. A lot of people understand real estate better than they understand private placements, cryptocurrency, or even private stock. They may have owned a home. They may have managed a rental personally. They may understand local neighborhoods, school districts, job centers, or property types. That familiarity is one reason rental property is commonly discussed in the self-directed IRA world. Rental property can also appeal to account holders who want an asset that is tangible, a tangible asset that produces income. You can see it. You can inspect it. You can evaluate comparable sales, rental demand, insurance costs, taxes, maintenance, and local market conditions. But familiarity does not remove risk. Real estate still comes with vacancy risk, repair costs, tenant issues, insurance changes, property tax increases, local regulations, financing complications, liquidity concerns, and of course, market cycles. And when real estate is held inside an IRA, there's an additional layer of compliance. That's why education comes first. Let's talk about why NAR's 2026 housing hotspots matter. Every year, economists and housing analysts look at which markets may be positioned for stronger activity. For 2026, the National Association of REALTORS, or NAR, identified 10 housing hotspots based on a combination of economic, demographic, and housing market indicators. Now, before we go deeper into their list, you need to understand something. These were not selected because they are guaranteed investment winners. They were selected because they showed strength across multiple indicators compared with national averages. You still need to do thorough due diligence. You still need to understand the systems you may need to put in place to hold real estate investments in a state where you may not live. NAR's 2026 indicators included things like millennial household presence, income growth, job growth, domestic migration, lots of migration, price reductions, listings aligned with local incomes, mortgage payment versus rent comparisons, single family permit growth, and of course, mortgage origination growth. Now, for a self-directed IRA account holder, that kind of research can be useful as a starting point, not a final decision, a starting point. A market can look strong on paper and still contain properties that just don't make sense. A city can have great job growth and still have neighborhoods with weak rental demand. A property can look affordable but need extensive repairs. A projected rent number can look attractive but fail to account for vacancy, management, insurance, taxes, or maintenance. And don't forget to consider weather. So as we go through this list, remember, these are markets to watch, not recommendations to buy. Let's discuss the 2026 list from the NAR. Number 10, Spokane, Washington. Spokane is one of the Western markets on NAR's 2026 hotspots list. For many investors, Western markets have become more challenging because of affordability issues, higher entry prices, and competition. Spokane stands out because NAR identified it as a market where affordability and inventory trends may be moving in a more favorable direction for 2026. For a self-directed IRA account holder, Spokane may be a market to study because it offers exposure to the Pacific Northwest, without necessarily being in one of the region's highest cost metros. But the due diligence questions still matter. What are the local market trends? What are the local rent trends? Are tenants staying long-term? What is the condition of older housing stock? Are there seasonal issues, weather-related maintenance concerns, or local regulations that affect rental property ownership? And most importantly, can your IRA support the full cost of ownership? Because remember, the IRA must pay the expenses. If the property needs a roof, new plumbing, or unexpected repairs, the funds need to come from the IRA. Number 9. Salt Lake City, Utah. Salt Lake City made NAR's 2026 hotspots list because of its younger demographics, income growth, and improving inventory alignment. NAR reported that millennial households represent a significant share of households in the area, and that listings were increasingly aligned with local incomes. Salt Lake City has been a closely watched real estate market for years because of population growth, outdoor lifestyle appeal, employment opportunities, and regional expansion. Now, for self-directed IRA account holders, the big question is not simply, is Salt Lake City growing? The better question is, can the numbers work inside of an IRA? That means looking at acquisition cost, realistic rent, vacancy, repairs, management, taxes, insurance, and how much cash the IRA will need to keep available for reserves. Always got to cover that just in case. In higher cost markets, cash flow can be tighter. That doesn't automatically make the market good or bad. It simply means the account holder needs to understand the math. Number 8, Richmond, Virginia. Richmond is another market NAR highlighted for 2026, pointing to its stability, job growth, and housing market alignment. NAR noted Richmond's job growth and fewer price cuts than the national average as part of its market profile. Richmond may also attract attention because it has a mix of government, education, healthcare, finance, and regional business activity. Stable employment centers can be important when evaluating rental demand. Now, for IRA-owned rental property, stability can be appealing, but stability does not replace property-level due diligence. An IRA account holder still needs to ask, who is the tenant base? What property types are most in demand? What are the landlord-tenant laws? That's an important one. Are property taxes rising? Are insurance costs changing? What does a realistic maintenance budget look like? Number 7, Raleigh, North Carolina. Raleigh is on NAR's list because of strong income growth, job growth, domestic migration, and improvements in inventory that buyers may be able to afford. NAR described Raleigh as one of the clearest opportunity markets of 2026 because of its combination of growing incomes and better aligned inventory. Now, Raleigh's long been associated with technology, education, research, and professional employment. Those factors can contribute to housing demand and rental interest. But again, a strong city does not automatically mean a strong IRA investment. A self-directed IRA account holder needs to evaluate the specific property, the neighborhood, the tenant profile, the age and condition of the home, expected repairs, rental comparables, and whether the IRA has enough liquidity to cover ongoing expenses. One of the biggest mistakes people can make with IRA-owned real estate is using too much of the IRA's available cash on the purchase and leaving too little for reserves. The property may be held inside a tax-advantaged account, but the roof doesn't care. The HVAC system doesn't care. The tenant turnover doesn't care. Remember, reserves matter. Number 6, Minneapolis-St. Paul, Minnesota. Minneapolis-St. Paul is another NAR 2026 hotspot, with NAR pointing to the area's responsiveness to lower rates, millennial household presence, and single-family permit growth. The Twin Cities region has a diverse economy, major employers, healthcare systems, education, corporate headquarters, and a large rental population. For self-directed IRA account holders, this kind of market may be worth studying because of its economic diversity and large metro footprint. But there are also questions to ask. How do winter conditions affect maintenance costs? What are property tax trends? What are local rental regulations? Does the property require more frequent upkeep due to climate? Are insurance costs changing? Is the neighborhood you're looking at stable, improving, or declining? Inside an IRA, these questions become even more important because you can't simply treat the property like a personal side project. The IRA is the owner, the IRA pays the bills, and the IRA receives the income. That's why you get the tax benefits. Number 5, Jacksonville, Florida. Jacksonville is on NAR's 2026 hotspots list because of migration, affordability, income growth, and inventory alignment. NAR identified Jacksonville as one of the Florida markets where both affordability and inventory are improving at the same time. Florida markets often get attention from real estate investors because of population growth, no state income tax, tourism, and rental demand. Of course, remember, the state income tax doesn't apply to IRA-owned properties. But Florida also brings unique due diligence issues. Insurance costs can be significant. Storm risk matters. Flood zones matter. Property taxes matter. HOA rules can matter. Short-term rental regulations can vary widely depending on the area. For an IRA-owned rental property, those costs and restrictions need to be evaluated before the IRA buys the asset. And if the property is intended as a short-term rental, the account holder needs to be especially careful. You cannot personally use the property. Your spouse can't use it. Your parents, children, grandchildren, and other disqualified people can't use it. Not for a weekend, not for a holiday, not at a discounted rate, not at a market rate, not just once. When your IRA owns the property, it must be treated as an IRA asset. Okay, number 4. Let's head north a little bit. Indianapolis, Indiana. Indianapolis is one of the more affordably focused markets on NAR's 2026 list. NAR described it as balanced, steady, and affordable, with one of the clearer affordability paths for 2026 buyers. For self-directed IRA account holders, affordability can matter because the IRA may be purchasing with available retirement funds. So lower entry prices may make it easier for some accounts to acquire property without using debt leverage. That matters because financing inside an IRA has special rules. If you want to learn more about that, check out the rest of our videos on our YouTube channel because we go into it in depth. So if you're thinking of using financing, be sure to check that out because it'll be very helpful and it explains it in depth. Number 3, Columbus, Ohio. Columbus made NAR's 2026 hotspots list because of steady growth, affordability, income growth, job growth, and better aligned inventory. NAR reported that Columbus pairs affordability with rising incomes, which can be a powerful combination in a housing market. Columbus is often discussed because of its university presence, healthcare systems, technology growth, logistics, and relative affordability compared with many larger metros. For an IRA-owned rental property, the key is to separate the city story from the property story. The city may have strong fundamentals, but the IRA is not buying the whole city. It's buying a specific asset. That means you need to evaluate the exact property. What's the rent history? What's the vacancy history? Does it need repairs? Is it going to need repairs? Is the property manager experienced? Are the tenants reliable? What are the local ordinances? And are there licensing requirements? Those questions are part of due diligence. And Mountain West IRA does not perform that due diligence for you. We process the transaction at your direction, but you and your advisors evaluate the investment. When all else fails, get some boots on the ground that you trust, especially if it's an estate that you don't live in or are not as familiar with. Number 2, almost there, Charlotte, North Carolina. Charlotte is one of NAR's official 2026 hotspots and is described as a magnet for millennials and high-skilled job growth. NAR pointed to Charlotte's younger household base, job growth, and increased listings where buyers need them. Charlotte's a major financial hub with a growing regional economy, and it often gets attention from real estate-focused investors because of employment growth, migration, and suburban expansion. For self-directed IRA account holders, Charlotte may be a market to study because it offers several different property types and submarkets. There may be urban rentals, suburban rentals, single-family homes, townhomes, and multifamily options across the broader metro. But more options also means more homework. You need to understand the difference between neighborhoods. You need to understand rent demand in the exact area. And you need to know whether the property is affordable because it's a good opportunity or because there might be underlying problems. And once again, if your IRA owns the property, you cannot personally benefit from it. The rules matter. Okay, number 1. Charleston, South Carolina. Charleston rounds out NAR's 2026 hotspots list. They describe Charleston as a fast-growing market where inventory is growing at the right price points, with momentum coming from improving affordability and strong demographic demand. Charleston is known for tourism, coastal appeal, population growth, and lifestyle demand. Those factors can attract real estate attention, especially from investors looking at rental properties. But coastal markets also require careful analysis. Insurance may be higher. Flood zones matter. Storm exposure matters. Short-term rental rules may be strict. Property prices may vary dramatically by neighborhood. Maintenance costs may be different than you would find in inland markets. For an IRA account holder, Charleston may be interesting to study, but the compliance rules remain exactly the same. Your IRA owns the property, the income goes to the IRA, and on and on and on. So let's take just a second and talk about the IRA real estate rules you need to understand. Now that we've covered the 10 NAR housing hotspots for 2026, let's go ahead and very quickly revisit the rules that apply no matter where the property is located. Now, if you would like a deeper dive into these rules, check out our recent video that covers that topic in depth. Remember, no matter where you buy your IRA investment, the same basic IRA rules apply. The IRA owns the property. All income must go back to the IRA. All expenses must be paid by the IRA. no personal use, watch for prohibited transactions. Now, that one's incredibly important. The consequences of a prohibited transaction can be severe, so it's critical to work with qualified professionals and educate yourself. If you have a question, call us. We'll either answer you in plain, clear language or direct you to your tax professional, financial planner, CPA, or other professional that can address your specific situation. Now, continuing the list, financing must be structured carefully. Remember, it's got to be non-recourse. Due diligence is your responsibility. Now, let's step back for a moment and go over a list of possible questions to ask before your IRA buys rental property. I'm going to list some educational questions to consider, so you might want to jot these down. You and your real estate professional may come up with even more. Does the IRA have enough cash for the purchase and future expenses? What happens if the property is vacant for several months? Who will manage the property? Are there repairs needed immediately? Are there major repairs likely in the next few years? What are the property taxes? What's the insurance cost? Are there HOA restrictions? Are there short-term rental restrictions? Is the property in a flood zone? Check that out. Are there local licensing requirements? Think about whether your IRA is going to use financing. Are any disqualified persons involved in the transaction? Has a qualified tax or legal advisor reviewed the structure? And also, and this one can be a very important consideration, what are the landlord-tenant laws? Is it pretty even? Are they more favorable to landlords or tenants? That can matter, especially if you get a tenant that stops paying. So these are all things that you need to consider. These questions may not be exciting, but they are questions that can help protect the retirement account from avoidable mistakes. Okay, let's wrap it up. Rental property can be one of the most understandable alternative assets available inside of a self-directed IRA, but understandable doesn't mean simple. NAR's 2026 Housing Hotspots gives us an interesting list of markets to watch. But remember, a hot market does not replace due diligence. Your first step should always be education. We're here to help you understand the process of using a self-directed IRA for alternative assets like real estate, but we're not going to provide tax, legal, or investment advice. We can help you understand the administrative process and the rules you need to be aware of. And we love to educate. To learn more, visit us at mountainwestira.com. Call us at 866-377-3311. And if this video helped you better understand how rental property can work inside a self-directed IRA, please like this video, share it with someone who may be exploring alternative assets, and leave a comment below if you have questions or if there are topics you would like us to cover in future videos. Now, don't forget, if you would like us to call you to help answer your questions at a specific time that works best for you, you can always go ahead and use the QR code in the corner and set that up on your schedule. Options expand where knowledge does. Education is where everything starts. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.